Hey guys, what's up? It's Karl, and we're back in my condo today to give you one last final tour of my place as we wrap up this wonky year here in 2020. We've made a lot of changes, and working from home now, I think for most of us, has just become the norm. And there have been quite a few changes here tech-wise, and I wouldn't say they're necessarily essential, but they've definitely helped me out during this lockdown, spending way more time inside. And we'll start off with the TV area behind me because I think most of us are spending way more time watching content, whatever that may be, Netflix, YouTube, just sitting yourself on a couch. What else is there to do during lockdown? And not surprisingly, during this time, a lot of you reached out if there were any budget options to get over that 100-inch mark. And that's where I want to introduce the Picopix Max. This one's from Philips. It's in and around that $1,100 to $1,300 mark, obviously depending on what region you're in. And in this tiny form factor, you can get an image all the way up to 120 inches in full HD, so of course 1080p. And here at home, because I already have a 100-inch projector screen, that's the image size that I've chosen. But as long as you have a blank wall, like I mentioned, you can get all the way up to 120 inches. And because it's so small, because it's so portable, I've actually been changing it between both here at home in the condo, and I've even brought it to my studio where I have an even larger wall. It's completely blank, so I've been watching movies in both places. And the great thing about the Picopix is obviously that price point. And when you compare it to the laser TV, which I think I've had 3 to 4 years now, that initially cost $10,000. So you're obviously getting some pretty decent value, and it's comparable in image quality. So native 1080p, and it does support 4K as well, depending on the input device you have. And on the back, you'll see all of the different input ports. So USB-C, both to power and for video, USB, HDMI, and micro SD. And I've actually used this to power some of my next gen consoles. So Xbox Series X, PS5. It does have a ton of pre-existing apps installed, so if you want to watch things like Netflix, YouTube, Roku, it's already built in. It has a built-in trackpad on the body to navigate through the menu system, and depending on that image size you want, that will dictate how close or far the device will live from the wall. And I've got mine living on a small portable coffee table, but I think the coolest thing about this projector is the autofocus. You can actually have it off angle, say to the side, or you can have it living closer to the floor because it does have this little tripod mount, and that autofocus will help kind of set the picture on the wall. If you do have blinds in your place, I would probably recommend lowering them. Your best viewing experience will typically be at night. It is still viewable during the day, but just kind of keep that in mind if you have a lot of natural light or windows in your room. And maybe the last thing that I've kind of noted is the actual portability gives you a bit of extra battery as well. So you can actually run this without a power supply, without a USB-C cable, but it's still cool to know that you can use the device for at least a couple hours without it being connected to an actual power source. Some additional pieces of tech around the TV are the new Nest Audio, and that's the new smart speaker that Google just introduced this past month. And I do use Google Home to control all of my smart home tech here in my condo. So whether that be my Philips Hue light bulbs, I've got my blinds automated, and that's kind of just one part of my Google smart home tech. I do love the design of it. I think it's super minimal. And to kind of tie in the Google game, I do have a Nest Hub that lives off to the side. There, it's easy just to glance the time if I'm watching news in the morning. Another piece of Google tech that I actually just got and installed is their new Nest thermostat. I think it's now their version 3. It's even sleeker now and more minimal looking. It does the same thing. It controls the temperature here in my condo. You can set up all the controls through the Google Home app. And next to my Nest Audio, I have another upgrade to my Home Tech Edition. It's a router. I know, something that I typically don't chat about on the channel, but just because of the overall look, and I think now that people are working from home, the connectivity is so much more important. People rely on good internet. It's the Huawei AX3, and I actually chose to keep it out on my TV stand because I think it looks pretty dope. It's a bit futuristic, it's modern, it doesn't look like your typical router. I kind of love it. Maybe my girlfriend doesn't agree as much, but we both obviously need some decent internet because we do work a lot from home ourselves. And the big reason for that upgrade is because of Wi-Fi 6. So a lot of new devices are rolling out with that as a standard. So if any of you have bought a smartphone in the last year, that of course will have Wi-Fi 6 built in. I live in a fairly large condo here, around 1,700 square feet. So I needed something that could kind of span the entire space if I'm working, say, in my makeshift office in the next room over. And it is dual band, so you'll have either 5 or 2.4 gigahertz. In our space, we haven't found that the 5 is cut out, but if you're in a larger space in a house, it might kind of switch between 5 to 2.4 depending how far you are. And it's got this pretty useful button on the front, especially at night when, say, everyone's connected to their network. It will actually switch to the best and most optimized Wi-Fi channel. Something super useful because I'm sure most of us have at least 5, 6, 10 plus devices that are all connected to Wi-Fi. And kind of swinging from the opposite side of my TV area into, I guess, what's behind you guys there, that's still part of my living room. I do have a couple pieces of tech. So for example, the Samsung frame, I think I've had that now for close to 2 years. It is essentially a TV, but it does mimic art when the TV is off, which is, 60, 70% of the time. I do usually watch a ton of soccer. Say I'm editing here on the table, I'll have it playing in the background. I do have a set of stereo paired HomePods. I honestly don't use them too much because I'm mostly over on Google. I've got my Lego Land Rover Defender, and in the corner, my last little addition of home tech has just been the Roomba i3 Plus. It's a cool little robot vacuum that I usually turn on when I leave for the studio to the day, and when I come back, usually my place is nice and clean. It's kind of their entry to mid-level robot vacuum, and I'm coming from their high-end S9. So I think the i3 Plus has more than enough features that most people would need on a day-to-day basis. Of course, that charging base, which I think is clutch, it not only charges the unit, but kind of collects all of the debris that the robot does pick up on its rounds. But yeah, kind of anyways, that is all of the home tech and my last updated Condo Tech Tour of this year in 2020. Hopefully you guys found some of it useful, and if I missed anything, I'll try to leave it all listed in the description box. And as we enter these final months of the year, I know COVID numbers are just kind of going through the roof, so I hope everyone is just staying safe. I know that we'll all probably spend a lot more time indoors, so really hope you found this video a bit useful, took some tips from it, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed all the content, and I'll catch the rest of you in one of my next vids. Peace.